Right, the Biden administration is all in on Iran again, a new nuclear deal. They're willing to give away 3 years of tremendous progress to do it. The State Department informed Congress late Tuesday that it would waive sanctions on Iran's illicit oil trade so the country can access frozen funds from South Korea and Japan. And the money is rolling in. There's no reason for the White House to be desperate to re-enter a deal with Iran. The economic situation in that country is dire. The IMF reports Iran's gross official reserves has dropped from $122 billion in 2018 to just $4 billion today. They're going broke. A miserable, corrupt regime which hates the West, wants to destroy us, wants to destroy Israel, a regime that spends its treasure on terror rather than its own people, is nearly broke. And for some reason, we are bailing them out. Axios today reports that on top of the sanctions already lifted, the Biden administration has agreed to lift almost all U.S. sanctions on Iran to secure a mutual return to the 2015 nuclear deal, which of course was a disaster. If you're curious why, the administration simply says sanctions haven't improved Iran's behavior. Yeah, and removing them won't improve Iran's behavior either. Nothing will change the behavior of Iran, but giving them money simply stabilizes this horrible regime, a regime that Iranians inside and outside of the country are desperate to remove. From the State Department yesterday.
We are prepared to continue engaging in the context of these indirect negotiations with Iran, but we've made no secret of the fact that we are considering the implications of Iran's nuclear advances for a potential return to the JCPOA.
So essentially, there's no deadline, there's not much pressure, and there probably won't be any sanctions. So please just make some kind of a deal that we can spin as successful foreign policy here in this country. A lot of this is simply politics. Iran knows it has our number so good on this. It can feel the weakness of Antony Blinken and the desperation of a White House that is desperate for a foreign policy win. Last night, charges were brought against 4 Iranians and 1 American for a role in a plot to kidnap an American journalist. Masih Alinejad is a U.S. citizen living in Brooklyn. She reports on the human rights atrocities perpetuated by the Iranian government. So obviously the regime wants this woman dead. The regime was working on a way to do that by kidnapping her. Listen to her describe the situation.
I just heard from FBI 8 months ago. They came to my house and they said, you know, the government in Iran trying to kidnap you. They showed me all the photos that the intelligence service actually sent someone here to take photos of my private life. And then I was like, wow, are they that close to me? I knew that this is the nature of the Islamic Republic.
It doesn't seem like a country that's really that worried about the United States. Evidently, the plan was to lure that young woman to a third country and then snatch her up there. You'd think perhaps this would be a deal breaker. Not anymore. Here's the White House.
We still see it in U.S. interest and in our national interest to engage in ongoing discussions so that we can have greater visibility into Iran's path to acquiring a nuclear weapon. So we will continue to pursue those talks, pursue the diplomatic path forward, which we think is in our interests and continues to be constructive.
It cannot be overstated how much our enemies love this White House. It cannot be overstated. The White House's plan is to enrich an evil regime that devastated a once beautiful and prosperous nation. They think this will prevent that regime from getting a nuclear weapon. Pay them to play nice. That was always the Obama plan. Well, check this out. Iran's president now insists his nation can enrich uranium to 90% purity, weapons grade, if needed. That means Iran can now have a nuke. And still Iran claims they never had nuclear ambitions, by the way. Sure. Our government somehow trusts that an evil regime, which wants our entire country and Israel to be destroyed, is telling the truth. These are the same people who believe every migrant coming across the southern border is actually seeking asylum. They think if we just pour money into Iran, the regime will just happily throw away all of that nuclear progress, which they killed themselves to get. You know how hard it is to figure out nuclear weapons? It ain't something that's easy, especially when you're Iran. The last time we did this, Israel discovered that Iran was cheating on the deal. Big shocker. Former Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu went on national television in Israel and announced, quote, even after the 2015 nuclear deal was made, Iran continued to preserve and expand its nuclear know-how for use at a later date. Of course, get all your money back and then figure it out later. If you were Iran, wouldn't you do the same thing? How can anybody think a regime that kills its own people and wants to destroy entire nations and supports terrorism will just give up on creating a nuclear weapon when they're right there? They got it done now. Yeah, they're just going to throw it away. I trust them, said Anthony Blinken and John Kerry. Well, our current White House clearly believes that they can change Iran. Like I said, hopeless romantic globalists like John Kerry and Anthony Blinken. People who have entirely too much faith in humanity, not nearly enough intellect. Human doormats, essentially, is what they are. The last White House was skeptical of evil regimes, which is a little more common sense. The play for them was bankrupt this regime out of power. Today is the anniversary of Obama's original Iran deal. Can you believe that? Here he is back in 2015, 6 years ago, celebrating the achievement of a really bad deal.
Today, after 2 years of negotiations, the United States, together with our international partners, has achieved something that decades of animosity has not: a comprehensive long-term deal with Iran that will prevent it from obtaining a nuclear weapon. As Iran takes steps to implement this deal, it will receive relief from the sanctions that we put in place because of Iran's nuclear program.
And then less than a year after that big moment from the Hill, Obama, Iran not following spirit of the deal. Shocking. Here's the president that ripped the deal apart.
The nuclear deal threw Iran's dictatorship a political and economic lifeline, providing urgently needed relief from the intense domestic pressure the sanctions had created. We got weak inspections in exchange for no more than a purely short-term and temporary delay in Iran's path to nuclear weapons.
He would rip it up the following year. The truth is, there really aren't very many good options on Iran. There probably is no good options on Iran. The people of the country are stuck in the middle of all of this. Don't judge the people for what the regime does, by the way. Removing sanctions will help the people a bit. That is fair. It will. But it's at a tremendous cost to the future of the country, to the future of the world, to the future of that region. The only thing that would truly improve the quality of life in Iran and reduce terror in the Middle East is a new system of government there. But again, this has to be done organically. We can't do it. We're not doing that anymore. More money, though, for this regime just means richer mullahs and more state-sponsored terrorism and scraps for the people of the country. It's a high cost.
Hey, I'm Rob Finnerty. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please join the conversation in the comments below. Don't forget to subscribe, too. Hit the bell icon to be alerted to breaking news. And remember, there's a whole lot more on Newsmax TV, America's fastest growing cable news network. Newsmax TV, we're real news for real people.